welcome back. My name is Swift Aderito, and this is Post and Perspectives. And basically, what this segment of the show is to actually say thank you to you, our viewers, by reading your comments and everything you have to say. And of course, getting your comments back to the front burner team that have been burning up the building, of course, to analyze and talk about it. Let's jump right into it. So the first topic we're touching on is visa to establish data center in Nigeria. And we have Monday Johnson. Monday, good morning, and thank you for joining us today. And you ask a question, will it benefit the common man out there? And there is a question mark. Monday. All right, so the next person we have is Paul, and Paul says, Nigeria is too corrupt for any establishment to work. Bribery and corruption are so deep among leaders. Come on. And of course, the last person we have commenting has to be Dunstan. Dunstan says, with the power source, with which power source are they planning to use to power the database center? And there's a question mark. They should better go and build power structure first before that. If not, talking about power structure, blessing, you're on my hot seat. You're looking, you smiled when they said that they should go and build a power source. I'm asking, all the three comments are sounding like doubting Thomases.
Yes, they are. Even though they've asked vital questions,
Yes.
But the thing is, they do not need to build a power center first, because let's look at how the telecom masts function, how they run. So they use alternative power supply or power source to keep them running. So if they could do that, it just means that for a data center, you have to replicate that in a more or in a bigger form, so that you're able to sustain power operations, because you know what a data center is. It houses data that other networks rely on. So it's more like the hub where everything is connected or routed through, and then it functions. So that's why it's very capital intensive. So if you have to think of how to sustain power and how to even have those servers that cost a whole lot, and you need to have all the systems running, the manpower, because you need skilled people to handle all of that. So it's capital intensive, really, and it's going to be more like premium service. So the target markets, rather, are going to be high-end users, high-end companies that know the kind of service that they offer. So eventually they will get their money. So it's just a good business venture for them. We only hope that this kind of venture can be replicated. But given how cost-intensive or capital-intensive it is, it's going to take a whole lot. Maybe some collaboration, some partnership, some support too from government to local firms, small firms, to be able to do this, so that we also have some form of competition, that will also favor you and I in terms of the price we have to pay for services like this at the end of the day.
Thank you so much. Talking about skilled, somebody just dropped it this morning that Blessing is so skilled. There's no topic she can't talk about. Talking about Femi Wash. She's in the building, just in case you don't know. Of course, the next topic that was properly dissected has to do with Nigerians urged to adopt Singapore's leadership model. And this one is from Obioma. Obioma, thank you for joining me this morning. You said, sometimes I try to believe this, but I don't accept it as truth. Nigeria was doing okay, and we were in a better shape than Singapore when we got independence. If you go on YouTube and watch some of the videos, you would appreciate the intentional efforts that were made to develop themselves. And of course, the next person is Iru. I like your DP picture. You have a very amazing red cap. And you say Singapore has no natural resources, not a single one, yet it is one of the richest countries on earth. They have one thing that supersedes all natural resources, and you say that is true leadership. And of course, the final person I'm taking has to be Lawrence, and Lawrence says, see, Singapore is a master class in nation building. While the West taxed innovation, Singapore built the perfect environment for success. political stability, zero tolerance for corruption, and legal system investors. Legal system investors can trust. Doctor, I'm on you for this one. Talking about leadership and all Singapore has built. Is it a good option to ask Nigeria to adopt Singapore's leadership model?
Well, there's no anything that is truer than that we have seen a nation that was rejected. Like the Holy Book says, the stone that the builder rejected became the head of the cornerstone. And I think that is the story of Singapore. And to say that we were far ahead of them, in short, it was not even in the league, if you were to count, when we had independence in 1960. 1965 was the first time, Abyss 3, as Lee Kuan Yew visited Nigeria. And his aim was to come to learn from us, really. Because the whole of the third world was looking up to Nigeria. And I remember the Indian vice president in one of the Commonwealth meetings in 1972 actually said that the whole of the non-aligned world were looking up to Nigeria for leadership. And of course, that there was no other person who could do it than Nigeria. But look at where we are today. And of course, issues that have to do with leadership failure. But when you talk about leadership failure, also understand that leaders are taken from the midst of the people. You don't import leaders from anywhere. So when you have a people who are grossly corrupt, and then, of course, you are having a culture that hero worship, it becomes very difficult for you, really, to provide genuine leadership. And I think these are issues that we have to confront. But for us to be able to arrive at what Singapore were able to do in terms of taking away the third world mentality from the head of Singaporean, then, of course, the political environment needs to be utterly controlled so that we have a zero tolerance for corruption. That is the only way we can follow that route. I said to Priya earlier today that you cannot eat an omelette without breaking an egg. Yes. If we must have to imbibe the Singapore model, then of course we have to follow their process.
No, that means a lot of eggs.
I'm thinking of a show for you where you just have to give these idioms and African proverbs continuously.
I think you are seeing the future because Doc and I are supposed to be anchoring the show. So all I do is I come up with the analysis. I don't say anything, and Doc just gives the answer. Simple. What do you think?
It makes sense.
You'll be the producer.
As long as you pay me for it. As long as you pay me for it, because at the start of the show today, the doctor talked about money, making some money. So I intend to make money. Of course, I'm up for it.
Talking about making money, the last thing I'm going through talks about analyzing food safety and sanitizing the food business industry. And Johnson is here. Johnson says, instead of pursuing laws to create meaningless development commissions, our state and House of Representatives should be tightening laws on counterfeiting. Counterfeiters deserve the death penalty. That's tick. And the next person is Chief. Chief, we greet you, sir. You say raids would not stop fake products. Government should come up with a framework for better reward and consequence program. I agree with you. And of course, the final person here is Atitola or Akintola Tolu. You say fake drugs and drink is attempted murder and should be treated as such. Talking about one of the men that you come from a town where drinks are important, what do you have to quickly say before we run off?
Okay, deterrence measures. Government need to run deterrence measures. It must not only be criminalized. We must have to let the people know, the perpetrators know that, look, you are committing, you are killing people. You are spoiling people's lungs, people's organs. You are damaging them. That's what your action does. And we have to take commensurate action to make sure we deter those behaviors.
All right, talking about deterring people, I'm about to leave you, but don't worry, I'm not leaving you alone. I'm going to be bringing somebody fresh. I call him the man that knows everything about sports. And if you want to find out what Nigeria did and the World Cup qualifier and who played what and what did what, then you need to stick with Honorable Chooks as he comes in to give you everything you need to know about sports. See you at the top.